All right, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Big Doug and Carmi Show, your one-stop shop for all things Commanders. As you know, all off-season it's fantasy football. We're drafting best balls today with Ian Hartitz from Fantasy Life. Ian, how are you?
Great, Davey. Great, dude. Appreciate you having me on. Hopefully, your Commanders have a little bit better 2024. But new ownership, new QB. Seems like we're moving in the right direction.
And the hype on Daniels, at least for fantasy football, is real. I saw the football guys put out a poll today with a bunch of the ADP spots, and it was Daniels again. So it's interesting to see how the fantasy football community is excited for what he may be this year, and you can get him cheap, which is nice.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, honestly, I've said this before, but like the two disconnects we have between real life football and fantasy are receiving running backs and rushing QBs. So, I mean, literally like 27 quarterbacks with 100 plus carries last 10 years. Only 3 of them did not finish as a top 12 QB. So Taysom Hill is a horrible quarterback, but he was a fantasy QB1 because the dude runs the football. So I'm optimistic Jaden Daniels, won't need to be comped to Taysom anytime soon. But yeah, man, if I could be fantasy football, world commissioner for a day, I'd find some way to make like sacks be some negative point totals. And try, for the love of God, can we have a difference in point totals for a freaking 6-inch pop pass and then like a 40-yard bomb down the sideline, guys? Come on.
Absolutely.
I agree. You're with the Fantasy Life now. How long have you been there? When did you make the switch?
I left PFF.
You were on with me a couple of years ago. I think you were still with PFF then.
Yeah, I jumped around a little bit. I got the Fantasy Life last March, so been about a year and 4 or so months. But yeah, it's been great, getting back to a company where really are still just starting out. Loved, the grind kind of startup culture and stuff going on. But yeah, back and reunited with my dude, Dwayne McFarland. We're actually doing a team preview series right now on the Fantasy Life YouTube page. So if you guys are like me, and just want to kind of spend the summer months, going through team by team, catching up, trying to cover all of our bases, we got you covered.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've been rating the Fantasy Life crew recently. Marcus Grant was on last week. Dwayne will be on next week. Excited about that. So listen, we're here to do a little best ball. George, you got something for us to?
Yeah, let's get it set up real quick. Let me actually get this all pulled up for us, ready to go.
Yep. And
we're going to do a best ball on Underdog Fantasy. Looking forward to it. Ian, while we're setting everything up, my question for you is I'm in the Scott Fish Bowl 14. I'm sitting there at pick number 2. Are you looking at basically, let's assume Josh Allen goes number 1 overall. Are you going Jalen Hurts number 2? Are you going Christian McCaffrey? What are your thoughts on that?
I got to get up to date with these ever-changing SFB rules. I know my guy, Rashid Shaheed, was one of the top players, and we got the return yardage element this year. So certainly such a, great contest every year. Looking forward to drafting here very, very soon. But yeah, I think it's got to be Jalen Hurts. I mean, just the difference in goal line volume for those two quarterbacks is really what makes, the difference in fantasy land. Last year, Hurts led all QBs with 16 rush attempts inside the 5-yard line. Josh Allen was at 14. Nobody else had more than 5. So it really is just like they're playing a different game. And that's why you see them going usually round 3 at the latest round 4, more drafts than not. So yeah, Allen, Hurts, it's all fun and games in Superflex fading QBs until, you're staring at Daniel Jones and Derek Carr as your top 2 dudes after bypassing them the first few rounds. So I would say, most Superflex formats and 2 QB formats, you want to have at least 1 QB after your first 2 rounds, if not 2, man. I try not to mess around with it.
Yeah, they're flying off the board. Give me 1 second to say my location is giving it a problem for whatever reason. Let me see how this goes over here.
Yeah, it's interesting with the fishbowl this year because you only have to play 1 running back. So I wonder, if you're sitting there in the 1, 2, 3 spot, if you're just not taking McCaffrey and then saying, I literally don't have to worry about taking a running back for a long time in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was in one of my favorite leagues now. I've only been in 1 year, but a 32-team league last year where we didn't have to worry about running backs. So I kind of took a similar approach with that, just pounding wide receivers. So, still need the 1, I guess. But, yeah, man, the pockets of running backs, like it really does lend itself, I think, more than ever, where like you do not need to reach in the position. Like, yeah, we have our rankings. I prefer to have Jonathan Taylor than Joe Mixon. But again, even if you miss out on all those, you can get down to David Montgomery's of the world, Ryan Robinson and Austin Eckler's of the world. Like there are, again, starting caliber running backs with 200 plus touch upside really available at all, stages up until round 9, round 10 or so. So I definitely, been enjoying my 0 hero RB starts.
We were talking to Peter Overset when he came on our show about a week or two ago, just talking about how it's so vital to have 4 wide receivers within the first 7 rounds. He said the wide receivers fly off the board, and it's basically you have to jump on it pretty quickly, is what he's saying. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, especially on underdog, that's the thing. I almost feel I love underdog. I play all their contests all the time and everything, but it's almost like you need to kind of wire your brain so that if you're not playing on underdog at a certain point, you got to remember that we're no longer dealing with absolute savages taking all these wide receivers. I mean, it really is wild. So I agree with Pete. I mean, if you just even look on the screen right now and scroll down, like you can kind of see the cutoff at wide receiver around, I'd say 47, 48. I probably draw the line right at Jameson Williams, as that's pretty much the guy where, not saying you can't draft a little bit of JMO here and there, but if you don't have 4 wide receivers by the time you get to that wide receiver 48 spot, not looking too good. So yeah, again, that's kind of the last range that you have scrolled on right now. So yeah, 4 and 7 general rule of thumb, but you don't need to go. I see some people overdo it. Like I literally get these, 6 wide receiver starts. And, I do think the opportunity to get an elite QB or an elite tight end, can make some sense if you already have, 3 or so wide receivers on the squad.
Gotcha. Let's try a different lobby. That one was taking a little while to get loaded up, so we'll wait for a second for that.
We doing BBM or just a different one?
I'm trying BBM again. I tried the Scott Fish volunteer role, but I was taking up, so I'm trying BBM right now.
There we go. Let's get that Millie, guys. Split it 3 ways.
Gotcha, 100%. Let's do it.
How many, Ian, how many of these will you do by the time best ball season is over?
I'm probably like 130 total drafts in right now. In terms of strictly BBMs, probably something like 20 or 30. I'd love to win the Millie one day. I think that would certainly, I'm sure we all would, but I'm sure that'll get the old best ball budget up a little more. But, I have no complaints about just loading up on their $5 or $3 ones in the meantime. So, 25, I got to make sure if I put $25 on a, best ball lineup, I got to make sure I'm like entirely focused for, the entirety of the time I'm going to be drafting. Honestly, guys, like my life hack lately has just been drafting best ball teams while I'm on the treadmill at the gym. Like it makes life so much easier. It takes your mind off, all the, chaos you're putting yourself through. And yeah, man, I love it.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Doug and I just laugh about how there's different levels to fantasy football. Essentially, there's the casuals that potentially just play in August and they'll do that one draft all year long, and it'll be a big league for them. But there's degenerates like us and on July 3rd doing a best ball draft live on recording. So it's hilarious. Or doing it on their treadmill, which I think is funny.
Oh yeah, man. Look, we're never gonna never shame the amount of fantasy leagues, never shame someone's betting unit size, of course. But yeah, and honestly, that is something that I've had to try to force Dwayne and myself when we're doing some of this content to be cognizant of, because for us, we're drafting again literally hundreds of these teams, so having a full fade on a player or drafting the same guy at the same spot every time is not smart. You do want to spread out your exposure, but for the guys that are only drafting one team in August, we do need to ask ourselves sometimes, all right, if you were drafting one team, what is your take on this guy? Because the easiest thing to always say is if he goes past ADP, I'll take him or not. But it's a cop out, man. We got to take some stands every now and then on here.
So while we're waiting for this last person, who's a person you're really high on this year and somebody maybe lower than the actual community believes in?
Let's see. I can just pull up, the guys I've been drafting the most. So I would say quarterback I've been drafting the most is Anthony Richardson, a guy that I had an absolute ton of last year, which was a lot cooler than this year because you could get him outside the top 10 quarterbacks. So it's costing you, a round 5 pick now. But, everything that's kind of talking about with Jaden Daniels just not busting because of that rushing upside, we get tenfold with Richardson. So, yeah, he did get banged up last year. But if this man stays healthy, I just literally don't don't see a path to him overly busting out that ADP. And I think the upside could legit be the overall QB1. So also one of those situations where, you're able to stack him with AD Mitchell or Josh Downs, who, go quite a bit later in drafts. And so Anthony Richardson, not exactly a sleeper or anything, but someone I've been taking plenty of. My top 2 drafted running backs are terrifying, but Antonio Gibson, we're doing it again. We're back, boys. Someone that's burned me plenty over the years, but
I saw the no regrets GIF, by the way, you put on your thing.
Yeah, man. But hey, I always say, don't hate the player, hate the ADP. And Gibson now going outside the top 50 running backs. Pure handcuff for Ramondre Stevenson. We know he has the 3-down ability when things have been giving him, when he has gotten the opportunity. Patriots paid him to have that opportunity. Again, late round dart. Don't take him too early. Oh, let's go.
Interrupt you. So McCaffrey and CeeDee Lamb off the board, 23 seconds. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah,
overall.
Tyreek's chalk, obviously. Let's go Tyreek. Yeah, we'll try to build up get our Waddle in round 2 and probably get sniped on Tua and curse the world, but we'll see what happens.
Are you doing much IDP with your dynasty and redrafts at all, Ian, or are you not into it?
I have not gotten into the IDP weeds just yet. I respect the grind with it. I mean, my goodness, I know my guy Macri over at PFF does fantastic work. If anyone out there is looking for a good IDP resource, but I'm still in a handful of leagues that have the DSTs. I always try to look for. Because I did some work on the schedule earlier, but there's usually that defense you can find that, has the first 6-7 weeks of like rookie quarterbacks or, just bad offenses in there. So as a former linebacker, when I used to, put on the shoulder pads, I certainly love those defensive players, but not getting into those weeds just yet.
It's 4th of July. Obviously tomorrow we're going to be eating dogs or burgers. What you guys prefer?
All the above, man. Well, some steaks on the grill as well. But no, man, what I've been loving and getting into as well is just really starting to season, some of the steak and chicken stuff, not getting too wild with it. But I feel like I've gotten to the point where I can cook the stuff, at a appropriate, amount. I'm not, I passed the first stage of grilling. So now we're trying to make the stuff, taste extra good. So always getting some peppers and onions going on there as well to complement it. But yeah, man, all the above. Go America, man. Back World War champs. Great day to be great.
Absolutely. Do you guys mess with Montreal seasoning? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? That's my go-to for steaks. Yeah,
Montreal steak seasoning.
Every single time. I love that.
I've used that. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the brand. It's like Grilling Mates or something. There's like one.
Exactly right. It's Safeway giant. Well, it's fantastic. It's bomb. It's really good every time.
Dude, it's great. It's like a 30-minute seasoning. Just throw the steak in a plastic bag, roll that around. It really does seem to make a difference, and can't recommend enough. Again, just getting some peppers and onions, cutting those up, grilling them as well, guys. I freaking love it. I try to do it every. Usually go to my mom's every Sunday because I don't have a grill just yet, but that is on the very imminent to-do list. Very excited there. I'm getting another dog and I'm getting a grill within the next week. So making moves at the Hartitz household.
Nice. What kind of dog is incoming? Both dog guys.
I currently have a dachshund and a mutt that is more Chihuahua than anything. We are adding to the small dog gang we got going on with a miniature dachshund. So looking forward to it. She's going to be named Deborah, but she's going to go by Bruh. So yeah, I think we'll try to get some content. Lily's been pretty shitty picking her NFL games over the years, so she might have some competition now.
That's funny.
I've got an 85-pound pit bull, and then we recently got a French bulldog. I've never had a small dog before. They are different sports.
Yes,
they are.
Yeah, I wanted a golden retriever, but the thing is, like, love my wife, love my mom, but those are the two people that are, taking care of the dogs when I can't, and they can't even handle, my 30-pound wiener dog that we currently have. So I was, looking down, getting the golden, and I was just like, kind of a problem. So one day, once I get, get a few extra hands on deck, hopefully with some kids that have some energy, we'll see what happens.
So let me throw some the actual draft talk around the board. I'll go back to the dogs in a moment. Wide receivers flying off the board. Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson off the board. Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Nico Collins, AJ Brown. They're moving pretty quickly. We're about 6 picks away. I guess, Ian, what are you thinking real quick? With Jonathan Taylor on the board, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Adams. Waddle's still there.
Yeah, I want Waddle to try to build a Dolphin stack if we can get him. If he goes off the board, I'm fine taking JT over the rest of these wide receivers. I think this is one kind of prolonged tier of guys, and we have our preferences, sure. Waddle for me, even without Tyreek, is the guy that I like most in this range. But even if you scroll down a little bit and start seeing DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, and those guys, like I think there are outcomes where they could arguably outscore, these borderline wide receiver ones. So really after Marv and London go off the board, like the wide receivers that are really good talents, have really good quarterbacks, and actually have a path to like 150 targets, they're gone. So you pretty much just have to kind of choose between these guys. So already got our one again. Waddle taken, of course.
So JT and Waddle got sniped, but then I guess my question for you is A-Chain, is that intriguing to you? He's a running back, but he's also a Dolphin. I never go for a stack. And he got like number 9 overall in redraft league. I think something really high up in regard to that. So like, does he intrigue you, or are you still going wide receiver here? Or what are you thinking?
I'd like to get Achane to fall back to us in the early part of round 3. But, man, one of Achane's possibilities this year is, breaking fantasy football like he did for a couple of weeks last year. So whenever that is inside your, potential range of outcomes, it's hard to be completely out on the guy. Really is a first or last type of pick. Let's go. Let's go with Mike Evans here. I have not been drafting too much Mike Evans. Got paid, did good things with Baker. So the other thing in these contests, I'm sure Pete talked about this plenty, is you really want to focus on building these kind of week 17 correlated lineups, because it's so hard. You got to get so lucky to get to that final round when there's like 500 people left. So then you almost take this kind of DFS, like single week approach to things where, no, like I'm not going to fully focus on week 17 matchups as my lone decision maker. But for me, these guys, are all kind of similar. Again, similar tier. Cleveland is the team facing Miami, so we're not going to reach on Amari Cooper at this point. That makes no sense. So for me, some of the stacks I've been liking later are, getting a little bit of a bounce back from the Panthers, Bryce Young, Xavier Leggett, even Deontay Johnson. So so a lot of times with that, when I'm deciding late, I've then been forced to take like Jalen McMillan or Cade Otton, and we'll see. Maybe those guys can work out, but actually getting Mike Evans as a starter, and maybe he just goes ahead and puts on another wide receiver one finish. Maybe we get some Baker, guys. The world is our oyster right now. So
but that's the fun. It's crazy with it, right? So we're going to be up on the board in 15 seconds. Saquon, A-Chain, Malik Neighbors, DJ Moore, Kyron, top 5 on the board right now.
I see why Saquon's ahead of Achane, but I mean, there are the, potential issues with the way Jalen Hurts is playing football, the goal line usage we were talking about before. So let's do what you were saying, man, but just a few picks later. Let's get Devin Achane and build up this Dolphin stack. So
I love it.
Looking for Tua later. Again, not going to go out of my way to reach for the guy. You do get some frustrated moments. So people love to bark about getting their stacks sniped and everything. So look, it sucks. Not saying you can't be mad, but some people are like ruthless, just like, oh, what is wrong with these people? If it's around ADP and someone wants to take Tua, even if they don't have any Dolphins, it's around ADP. But my God, guys, I was drafting couple nights ago, and I got the Tyreek Waddle start, and then someone who already had Josh Allen takes Tua from me like 40 picks ahead of ADP. So when that happens, we might have a glass or two go against the wall, in the Hartitz household. But otherwise, that's just life in Fantasyland.
We were talking a little bit about grilling earlier. My brother got a Blackstone. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, and he swears by it. Like, that dude cooks breakfast out on the porch with his Blackstone.
Cool. I'm not in the weeds enough to hear about it, but man, I'll tell you what, my dude Chris Allen, you guys should have on as well if you guys haven't scheduled him yet. But he is just the coolest person ever. He is a great griller, smoking meat. He's always got something crazy cool going on with that. And then he also brews his own beer. So blessed enough to get to work with Chris. So I'm trying to take after him with some of this stuff eventually.
Living the dream. I go visit his house for sure, man. That's awesome.
Right?
That's awesome.
That homebrewing is serious business.
It is.
It's hard. I mean, honestly, man, I'm just trying to get a sponsorship by Big Wave, and I will never drink another beer in my entire life. Kona Big Wave.
It's fantastic. It's delicious.
I love it so much. And I love it in cans specifically. I don't know. It's kind of uppity of me, I guess. Like, beer in a bottle, it's great, but just something about those cans. So I have my spots in Columbus, Ohio, where like I know exactly what stores do and don't sell a Big Wave out there. Because guys, it's just hard not to have a good day when you get to drink a Big Wave.
Absolutely.
There you go.
So you're not a Goose Island guy, because I know that's like a Chicago-based beer company right outside of Cleveland. I don't know if you're into that at all.
No, 312 is a fantastic beer. So I've been to the brewery there. I went to school in Chicago, so definitely used to make more of a habit with it. But no, man, all beer is fine. I'm not a big fan. Shout out TJ Hernandez. I know he's on this boat as well, but I just don't like the IPAs all that much. When it gets if the IBU like isn't that high, which like kind of takes away from the entire point of an IPA, so I get it. Like I can kind of stomach it more, but man, I just I would much rather have 3 light beers, as opposed to the one IPA. Like I don't know what it is, guys. If I have 6 Big Waves, at the end of the night, I'll wake up the next day and feel absolutely fine. If I have 3 beers that are 6%, 70% or whatever, I'm waking up. I'm like, what the hell did I drink last night? So I feel like when you keep it light, it helps the man waking up in the morning a little bit.
Yeah, I brought the Pernicious home the other day. It's like 8 something, and you feel a little dried out in the morning after you drink.
Right?
There's no doubt.
I don't know if you guys are going to judge me. I went to Ocean City recently. I'm in Washington, D.C., the East Coast of Ocean City, and the Line and Kugel had like a summer pack, and I love the summer shandy, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
There's also a peach shandy, and there's a grapefruit one, and there's a cherry one. There's a variety pack. That's fantastic. If you guys like those kind of like this fruity kind of light beers, the peach one is the bomb. It was ridiculous. So try that out one time. It's really good.
When
I like having 1 or 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I go up to Ocean City, I haven't been in a while. They do those like grapefruit crushes.
Yes.
There. Oh man, now you talk about refreshing on a hot day.
Yeah, it's good.
There's a good one, Mango Cart, which is actually, I think, made, Golden Road Brewery, which does some other good ones. So Mango Cart's been good. Again, that's another one of those, 4.1 percenters or whatever. But one of the, my local Roosters, which, my God, I love Roosters wings so much. But, that's been their one of their on-sale beers, so I've been happy to scoop that up. All right, up in a few picks.
Yep.
We can more or less, I think we should tack on another one of these wide receivers. I've been pretty high on George Pickens throughout this. His Deontay Johnson's gone. People just are like, oh, Arthur Smith's going to find a way to mess it up. I don't know, man. Cortland Sutton, 10 tutties with Russ last year. Justin Fields freed DJ Moore. I mean, there is probably, you could argue there's less target competition in Pittsburgh than almost any other offense in the NFL. So might very well get sniped here. If we do, I would say let's go with Pickens or Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I guess you like Pickens better, even though it's Kansas City's offense?
I like Pickens. There we go. Yeah, let's go Pickens. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean,
so what's the rationale there? I'm sorry.
Again, like he is just locked in as the wide receiver one in Pittsburgh. We've seen him without Deontay Johnson over the years. Dwayne told me today it was something like 27% target share in the times when Deontay has been missing. So, and look, the dude just had 1,100 yards as a 22-year-old catching passes from freaking Pickett, Trubisky, and Rudolph. So I understand Russ and Fields aren't, top 5 quarterbacks, but they are an upgrade over that. We lost the target competition. And again, as much as we want to just in the fantasy community, everyone pile on Arthur Smith every chance we get, like things didn't go great in Atlanta, but I'd argue that was more because Mariota and Ritter are 2 horrendous quarterbacks than necessarily anything Smith was doing. He had Ryan Tannehill and company putting up a lot of really good passing numbers, during his time in Tennessee. So A.J. Brown, his, last year with Arthur Smith in Tennessee, he had a 128 target pace in 17 games. So I think if Pickens gets something close to that, which again, setting up that way, given the lack of competition, Pickens, I don't think there's as big of a difference between Pickens, talent and someone like Drake London, and we're able to get Pickens around 4.
So Hollywood Brown is still on the board, and we're coming back around again. Do you still attack the wide receivers, or do you start looking at running backs here, or quarterbacks, or even tight end?
Yeah, we got our ETN is a nice value at around 5. I was thinking Hollywood, and then we could potentially stack them with Mahomes, but we got Pickens anyway, so we don't have to worry about that as much. If we get ETN slide in, that's a nice little, 7 picks past ADP. I say we go with ETN. Like the concerns we had last year, I was out on ETN as a 3rd round pick last year because let's go with ETN. Okay. I was worried about Tank Bigsby. They were talking him up. Yeah, that good thing that we worried about Ian, you freaking idiot. But the season before, like Jermichael Hasty had played more than ETN during that loss that they had at Arrowhead. So I just didn't think he was going to get the workhorse role. He got the workhorse role, but then his talent, not his talent, but his efficiency on the ground fell off. And a big reason why is because the Jaguars offensive line just regressed so much. So with ETN, man, like if we can just get this Jaguars offense finally exceeding expectations and he's a little bit closer to the 2022 efficiency with the 2023 volume, which was up there with any running back in the league, I mean, we're going to be cooking. Like ETN over the first 2 months of last season was legit a top, like I think he was number 2 in fantasy points behind only CMC. So fell off a little bit, but with HN and ETN guys, this now gives us the flexibility where, hey, we're drafting like we're perfect. Okay. So we're assuming more weeks than not that HN and ETN are filling up our 2 RB spots. So honestly, we can finish this team with probably 5 running backs. We want to get crazy, 4, but no more than 5. So yeah, need to get our 4 and 7 still, as Pete says with the wide receivers here. But like the flexibility so far. And Jacksonville is another one of those matchups where we're going to have opportunities with Brian Thomas Jr., Evan Ingram, and T-Law eventually. So.
What are your thoughts between Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy? I've heard people love the investment into the Kansas City offense, but I guess the issue is you don't know which one to pursue. Worthy goes off the board.
Yeah, good news is, because of that uncertainty, that's why the guys are kind of priced down as far as they are. Even though we haven't seen a Tyreek Hill level talent emerge in KC in recent years, that first year we still had Juju and even Mecole Hardman putting up top 36 numbers. So yeah, it really went to shit last year for everyone other than Rashee Rice. But, I think Hollywood was brought there for a reason. So I do prefer Marquise Brown versus Worthy. It's not like Worthy would be the first, highly drafted Chiefs wide receiver to not immediately get a chance to go out there and contribute. Shout out Sky Moore. But yeah, honestly, the one I've been trying to click a little more often is Rashee Rice, just kind of playing the game where look, if he wasn't facing this potential suspension, and it is potential, man. Rap Sheet came out and said, there's a chance this stretches long enough so he doesn't even get suspended before 2025. Schefter was saying that the Chiefs are expecting he'll be suspended, but I think there's a chance it could be 4 games. Would be very surprised if it's more than 8. And when we're now able to draft him as our 4th, sometimes 5th wide receiver on this squad, we're playing for that second half anyway. So I think there's, a good amount of upside there. So
got a couple in the queue.
What do you make of some of these teams that have 3 receivers? Like I'm thinking of the Texans and the Bears and some of these teams, where it's like, how where the ball's going each week? How do you sort through those kind of squads?
It's been tough, man. Again, with the Bears, it's a little bit, Keenan and Rome are kind of priced down accordingly. Texans are the one where it's just like, man, we really think all 3 of these guys are just going to do it, huh? So I've been, not going as far in with the veteran potential age cliff options. So Keenan and Diggs have kind of been the 2 I'm fading most so out of the groups, but, not completely out on the situation. All right, we're about to
2 picks away.
Be on.
Do you like Kittle here? That's the tight end, the last good tight end, or do you still attack wide receivers? What are you thinking?
I'd be okay with Kittle because I think
he just got taken off.
Right as we say that, that's okay. We can maybe get Evan Ingram.
I was going to say come back around and keep working on.
There's Brian Thomas. You talked about him. I don't know if he's worth a stack.
I don't mind Brian Thomas, but there was Christian Watson. That's kind of who I was thinking here. Let's go. Let's see.
You can scroll down if you like to.
I'm cool with Brian Thomas. Let's go with Brian Thomas.
All right, let's do it.
First round pick. I think he's going to step in and I think Gabe Davis is just a guy. Honestly, I was surprised he got as much money as he did. But Brian, if you just look at Calvin Ridley's targets and air yards and everything last year, that was one of the most fantasy-friendly roles in the entire NFL. So already having a Jaguar player, now we're open to taking either Trevor Lawrence or even Will Levis late and trying to get some Titans as well. So probably out on Levis. We already missed Ridley and I believe Hopkins as well.
Yeah, Hopkins is going too. Yep.
Yeah, with Brian Thomas, we got some goons out here, guys.
Yeah, we still got
I like it.
working too.
We just got some big badass wide receivers here: Evans, Pickens, and Brian Thomas. Get these skinny slots out of here. But
exactly.
Yeah, man. I think in Thomas and just like in best ball too, when you're really trying to focus on the guys who can pop off and have these big games. We're talking about a vertical field stretching talent who can also go up there and get it. So for me, Brian Thomas, I thought was number 3 wide receiver in this class. And if you just purely look, if your mind, I know Chris Sims got in a lot of trouble for, ranking Neighbors and Brian Thomas ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr., which I would not do. But if your entire focus is just purely on like who is the most explosive and like big play potential guys that can just put that fear in defenses, I mean, Brian Thomas is faster and like you're going to see him stretch the field a bit more easily than Marv. So from that kind of standpoint, I get it.
We're up in a minute, yeah.
I don't think we need Ingram in this specific build. I don't want to get too many Jaguars going.
Yeah,
so I say we dip back into wide receiver. The running back tier is long here. I'd be down for Ladd or JSN. Do you guys have any lean on those guys?
I don't know, not necessarily. I kind of like the whole there goes Ladd anyway. So
Let's go. Yeah, let's go JSN, new offense. I mean, the big issue last year, JSN was actually asked about Shane Waldron like in March.
I saw that.
He just had nothing good to say about the guy. It was pretty hilarious. But like you watch the first 10, 11 weeks of last season, especially, and like the JSN usage was almost, it was like they were treating him, with all due respect to Rondale Moore, but just any of those like gadget wide receivers that they just don't believe can run an actual route tree. I mean, it was brutal. And then we saw down the stretch a little bit, Cowboys game, Eagles game, JSN making plays happen downfield. So yeah, we still have Metcalf there. I don't think Tyler Lockett's going to completely disappear either. But this is a situation where we get to buy the number one wide receiver from last year at borderline wide receiver 4 price tag. So also a situation where, if we need to go ahead and end up going later round QB, Geno Smith, someone that's been awfully affordable. So maybe we tack on a Lockett. I've loved Noah Fant late. I've loved Jonnu Smith late. So things are setting up all right for us. Even though we didn't get the elite quarterback or tight end, I think we got this sort of roster where we're still going to be able to stack some guys and, kind of maintain some of that upside. But that's the, I went through one of these drafts and I was like, all right, what if I just ignore quarterback and tight end until the last 6 picks, no matter what? I just was I'm throwing $3 away like purely for this, thought experiment here. And the one thing, and you kind of see it with our players here, like when you are having an eye towards, all right, let me stack these guys with quarterbacks going later. Well, rocket scientists here, like, yeah, guess what? Most of the quarterbacks going later aren't in the best offenses. So that's the one concern I would say with our team so far. Like, hey, Buccaneers, Steelers, Jaguars, Seahawks, not exactly guaranteed to be juggernauts out there. Now we're getting guys that I think are personally talented enough to overcome that, only have so many target hogs and great offenses available at this point in the draft. But yeah, guys, I'm feeling good. We got enough flexibility now where we're good at running back and wide receiver. We can kind of let quarterback and tight end come to us.
My question to you real quick is we have Achane and we got him earlier on. Mostert seems to be floating around later in the draft. So you get him to kind of handcuff, Achane just in case. Mostert walked away with 21 touchdowns last year, and Achane was fantastic when he played, but he did show to be kind of injury prone. Like, what are your thoughts on him?
They were used almost identical snap usage, like the 8 games or so that they were both healthy. I don't like to handcuff in best ball specifically. Especially when it's like this tight, where, I don't see – crap, they did kind of do it last year. Mostert benefited a good amount, I think, from some of Achane's missed time. I'd be very surprised if they can once again put together this, both breaking out. We've only seen the 2017 Saints with Kamara and Ingram, and then last year's Dolphins. That's why it's kind of hurting my argument right now with Mostert and Achane. Those are the only backfields over the last decade plus that produced 2 top 12 guys during the same season. So that's usually the rule of thumb, but the Dolphins had the single most fantasy-friendly backfield last year. So, hey, if Mostert falls a little bit, maybe we can get him like a pick 105 or something, I'd be down, but I'm not going to be going out of my way for the guy. But it's tough.
Where are you on Kyler Murray this year? I mean, with McBride and Harrison, there's kind of an interesting stack they got going out there too. He was good at the end of last year, like really good at the end of last year. People forgetting about him. What do you think?
Yeah, man, you're not wrong at all. I mean, you look at that offense once they got him back, and this was with a banged up Marquise Brown. Yeah, Trey McBride's doing his thing. Our one true God, Greg Dortch, going out there balling. But yeah, man, it was a top 10 offense in EPA per play, yards per play, and touchdown drive rate with Kyler under center weeks 10 through 18. So Kyler, I mean, he was a top 10. He's been a top 10 QB every year of his career, maybe QB12 as a rookie because of that rushing. So it's great to have that. And then we have the condensed target tree. It's fine. It's just expensive to, have to use again. Usually a first round, maybe first couple picks, a second round pick on Marv. Then you got to go get McBride probably in round 4. So I forced myself to do it a couple times and, because I don't want to be fully out on Kyler. But, haven't been going overly out of my way for either Marv or McBride. I think both guys are probably a little bit overpriced. But again, there's a certain number of guys in fantasy at quarterback where like they have that overall QB1 upside, and Kyler's one of them.
So real quickly, we're up in a second, and he just got sniped. I was going to ask you about Jonathan Brooks for Carolina. I heard he's, people are really high on him, but we're on the clock right now. So what are your thoughts?
Let's go with DeAndre Swift. We're going to build a little bit of a Seahawks thing going on, Bears, Seahawks. And with Swift, he's being priced the same spot he was last year when he was in an offense where we had concerns about the tush push and the targets to running backs, which both came to fruition. Only Joe Mixon got stopped at the 1 yard line and then did not score a touchdown the same drive more than Swift last year. That was brutal. So that's out of the picture. And last year, he wasn't making anything. He was traded for a late round pick from the Lions. The Bears just gave him more guaranteed money than what Josh Jacobs got from the Packers. So Swift got paid. I think he's going to be the clear-cut lead back. And honestly, just the fact that he's hanging out around here, I think it's a good tier of running backs. And this is another reason why I think, it is nice to have your 4 or 5 wide receivers by this point, even if I'm not, even if I'm not overly sold that Swift's going to be, better than these other guys around him, you can talk yourself into these upside scenarios. So I would say next, because again, we're building the Jaguars stuff going on. So we're going to want to bring back, let's go with Tony Pollard.
Okay.
Another situation where I just think he's kind of being penalized a bit too. And Swift wasn't even that bad last year. So I don't know, but Pollard's one season removed from, really looking like one of the more fantasy friendly, explosive pass catching running backs out there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, you look at what happened last year and, self-admitted that he did not feel back to his full self before week 12, week 13. So I dug into those numbers a little bit, and you didn't see this night and day difference with anything other than PFF rushing grade, in terms of weeks 1 through 12 and then the rest of the season. But hey, Titans paid him, a pretty penny to come be their RB1, and Pollard and Tajay Spears, who I don't think is a bad pick in his own right. If either of those guys go down, I'm pretty confident in the other one stepping up and legit being this weekly top 15 option at the position. So yeah, guys, again, we have right now looking pretty good at running back. We're going to take maybe one more running back, but honestly, we could probably sit tight with 4 and be okay here. And, just the way they came, a different build. If we had different wide receivers, maybe we would have been reaching on some tight ends or quarterbacks in this spot. So going to have to do our work there with the late rounds. But yeah, we're loading up with the 2 most important positions early. I don't hate it.
My question to you real quick is, you talked about the Jaguars stack with Tony Pollard. Is that because they're in the same division, or was that a slip up? I was trying to
week 17 matchups. Week 17 matchups. Yeah. Gotcha. So again, if we're just putting all of our eggs in the first or last basket, we do want to try to correlate this. And Michael Leone established a run, has some good data where there were higher advance rates for lineups that were going out of their way to correlate the week 17, but I don't want to put the wrong words out there. So don't fully take what I'm saying here face value. But his point was also even if it didn't necessarily prove to be making more money or something last year in particular, it was those lineups were doing better. So maybe it's a certain thing where just people that are grinding things more and even thinking about the week 17 are naturally picking better players anyway. But that is something that, again, I don't feel like I'm going out of my way for any of these guys. When we did it with Tony Pollard, when we did it with DeAndre Swift to try to get those, they were up there towards the top of the ADP anyway, and running back tiers that I thought were fine. So when I can get that correlation and not go out of my way for it, that's when I'll do it. Or, round 17, round 18, you're just looking for an add-on, maybe then.
I've seen more about that this year. Maybe it's just because I didn't notice it before, but this attention to detail about the last couple of weeks, like you're talking about, Ian, I feel like that's something that's being talked about more this year than previously. But it makes a lot of sense. That's where you're winning this thing, right?
Yeah, again, completely different shot. again, this is why you got to have your best ball brain, your redraft brain, your dynasty brain, all that. Like, you do not care one iota about that in a redraft league. And there's even other types of best ball contests. I mean, Underdog has a great, portfolio of them where, like, some of them you're doing weekly winners, some of them you're doing where it's actually just, eliminating you after each week. And, the only certain people are moving on. So always depends on the contest. And again, you guys mentioned Scott Fishbowl earlier. That's always got some wonky rules. So just a good, good reminder, just to, make sure exactly what is optimal for the contest of your choice. But yeah, I would say again, we've been building it up already. Trevor Lawrence to us here would be very nice.
Or Tua. Which one do you prefer more?
We'll go T-Law first just because of the ADP. Honestly, I'd be fine going QB at this next go round. So if we can get T-Law and Tua, and that gives us a chance way later. We can look at a Baker, we could look at a Geno or something. But yeah, I mean, again, we're pretty good at RB and wide receiver. I would have liked to have a tight end by now. That's the only problem with the squad, but we're going to end up taking 3 of them most likely. So is Freiermuth still available?
Let's take a look. What's your cutoff for that? So in regards to like tight ends, do you actually is there
throw him in the queue?
Yeah.
I would have liked usually by Goddard, who's tight end 12, I would have liked to have at least one. Just kind of didn't exactly work out for us. I guess when we took, I wasn't sure. I could have paid a little more attention probably to the tight ends on the board when we took Pollard. That would be the only, in hindsight, possibly could have gotten a Njoku or a Goddard at that point. But, didn't have any extreme. Could have looked at Njoku over Pollard. That's my lesson here right now. But
typically when we're done with the whole draft, we kind of pull up the board and look at a mistake so we can reflect on where we could have gotten a tight end potentially.
Yeah, he might have been taken already anyway, so we'll see what happens there. But all right, you would like to think that the guy with 1 quarterback already and 2 quarterbacks aren't going to be doing any funny business with us, but you spend enough time in these streets and you're going to see.
Once it's 30, so thank God we dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, he might have some 49ers or something. So this is the guy that would be shot. Yeah, all right, let's go T-Law.
Okay.
I have been drafting a ton of Blake Corum. I don't hate that pick, but if something happens to Kyron, something happens to Kyron, I think he's getting that exact same role. Kyron's good, but like they started Cam Akers ahead of him in week 1 last year, and it didn't go well, and then they changed things. So like they brought back Darrell Henderson to try to give him something, and they didn't. Like I don't think Sean McVay wants to give Kyron 350 touches out here. I don't know if Kyron's body can hold up for that. I mean, the guy's getting injured every freaking 2 months during his short career. So Corum, had a pretty rough final season, scored every goal line touchdown that Michigan had a chance to and everything. But that's, you'd like to think second year removed from that horrific injury he had down the stretch of 2022, he'll be better. But got the draft capital. Rams beat, saying all the right things. Hopefully the Rams beat is a little bit closer to the Puka news than the Allen Robinson news this time around.
I like the way things are breaking. Tua might be back around for us if we get him, which I think would be great. I kind of like that A-Chain, Hill Tua combination there, which is fantastic. I put up, I don't know if you're interested, like we can talk about this. Ezekiel Elliott's kind of over the hill. Dalton Schultz are kind of like available. Would you be interested in them if they fall next round potentially? And should we go Tua here?
Tua. There we go. See, quarterbacks are coming to us. There we go. We stayed patient. No, I'm fine with Zeke, man. Look, Zeke was really freaking bad in 2022 with the Cowboys. Averaged 3.8 yards per carry. Pollard took all the pass down work, and he still finished as like a top 15 running back because he fell into the end zone 12 times. So Randy number 1 ranked scoring offense. Like it's just a matter of, again, like especially in half PPR, I just think that when you have anyone that can fall into the end zone double-digit times, it's hard to be too down on him. It's not like Zeke is any more washed, at least based on what we saw last year, than guys like Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, and all these guys are going way higher than him. So I think sometimes we have a tendency, Joe Mixon is another one of these guys, we just hold inefficiency against certain running backs more than other guys. When in reality, man, if you can get the volume, which, I understand sometimes will ebb and flow depending on the efficiency you're going. But I tweeted yesterday. It was, let's see. 1 second. I know this is great podcasting. Who is Alvin Kamara, our guy ETN, Saquon Barkley, Rashad White, and Mixon. All top 12 running backs in PPR points per game last year. None of them averaged more than 4 yards per carry. So it is one of those things where again, yards per carry tends to be one of the more overrated stats when looking at these running backs from a fantasy perspective. Until that starts actively costing you the volume, we'll take the receptions and we'll take the fantasy-friendly scoring opportunities.
Is it, you brought up Will Levis briefly earlier. It's interesting what they did in free agency makes you think that they're going to be throwing the ball a lot, right? I mean, both backs are receiving backs. They brought in Calvin Ridley amongst others. It's an interesting thing what they got going on there in Tennessee. And Will Levis is cheap, right? I mean, super late.
Oh, yeah. I would say out of all the late round quarterbacks, once you kind of get to Kirk Cousins and on, not saying Cousins and Rodgers and Stafford and those guys can't be good, but they're just such statues in the pocket that it's hard to see them, they need to throw like 40 touchdowns in order for them to be, flirting with that, top 5. So I think Levis could have the volume with a bad defense just to be one of these guys who is just in one shootout after another and putting up some, solid numbers with it. So Will Levis and then even Deshaun Watson at that point in the draft. Watson's like QB 21 right now. So no, I don't think we're going to get the Houston Texans Watson back, but he still only has played 12 games in Cleveland. And the amount of those games, if you really go through it, that you can actually blame on bad weather or him dealing with the shoulder and rotator cuff injury, it adds up, man. And even last year with some of that stuff going on, he had a QB1 finish in 3 of his 5 full starts out there. So, Watson, not someone that look, I got burned on drafting Watson in round 7 last year. Like that did not work out. I'm sitting here admitting that right now, but again, pick 162 for a guy that is still one of 4 quarterbacks in NFL history to average at least 20 fantasy points per game for their career. If we're sitting here in week 2 and Watson just threw for 270 and a couple touchdowns and ran one in against the Cowboys, probably going to be ranking him in the top 12 again, and we can get him cheap as hell. So on this team, probably don't need him. I don't think we have any, Browns wide receivers to be overly doing much with. But yeah, guys, I'm feeling good here. We got some flexibility. Honestly, if we don't get another quarterback until the very end, we could look at Russ or Justin Fields as an add-on just for Pickens there. So. And if we can get Freiermuth here and fall down, which I would absolutely love, that would be best case. Freiermuth or Dalton Schultz. But
yeah, I was wondering, why? Would you have a preference over the other? I feel like Schultz would be more intriguing, but I guess it's too crowded there.
Yeah, and you can look at his splits. A lot of his good games last year came, after Tank Dell was injured, and even Nico got a little bit banged up there at the end. Now you add Diggs into the equation, and honestly, man, like we saw it in the wild card game. Like Brevin Jordan is a pretty damn good backup tight end as far as that goes. So Schultz got paid, and everything. He's going to be the tight end 1. But no, I'm taking Freiermuth, man. Again, he's this cheap because Arthur Smith, like guys, Kyle Pitts was hurt last year. All right. He did not look like himself. Jonnu Smith should have been getting more of the yards after the catch options. Damn it. That's okay. Yeah. But so I'm not going to blame Arthur Smith on the tight end usage. Falcons tight ends are 4th in targets during his time there, man. So what do we think Darnell Washington, who had 10 total targets last year and should probably just change his position to offensive tackle at this point, is going to be doing it? Ow! All right. That's all right. We're not going to panic. We'll get tight ends later. Let's see. Okay, I would like, if he stays here, Xavier Leggett.
That's what I was wondering. I was thinking about him, buying cheap on him, potentially wide receiver 1.
Buying cheap, staying with our week 17 nonsense. We got the Panthers and Buccaneers going up against each other. So if we go Baker or Bryce later, it gives us a nice, correlation there. So yeah, cool with Leggett. We could look at Gabe, just because we already have T-Law, but we got Brian already. We got ETN already. Again, I try to leave a light on for some of these guys, but I just think Gabe is so freaking mediocre. Yes, let's go with Leggett.
Let's do it.
Only so many, 220-pound humans that can run a sub 4.4. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, what do you make of Nick Chubb? They didn't really bring anybody in free agency. Does that make you feel like they think he's going to be ready sooner than later, or they just felt fine with Jerome Ford and whoever else?
Honestly, man, that was kind of my interpretation of it. I mean, they brought in Deontay Foreman on a 1-year vet min deal. People have this. Maybe I'm just too in the weeds in the fantasy Twitter streets, but I always hear people act like Foreman is some just God's gift to the earth talent, or be like, he had a couple good second halves, as a handcuff on the Titans and Panthers. These like horrific offenses that had nowhere else to go with the football. So, it's just, at this point in the draft, I don't hate Chubb.
Yeah, let's say Chubb, Johnson, or Jermaine Burton potentially. I don't know if you like any of those, or what are your thoughts?
Not really on this team. I'd be down for Chubb, and then we're done at running back. We can just unclick the thing. So again, Chubb around pick 150 for me is fine. He was going like 110, 115 earlier, and I think sometimes people, let's go Chubb. Screw it.
I think Chubb's interesting. That's kind of that's the ultimate dart throw right there. Like feast or famine pick. I like that.
And it also makes sense on this team where we have Dolphins. Miami is playing Cleveland in week 17 as well. So it's annoying. You got to click wide receiver.
Oh, that's how you do it. Got it.
Okay, there you go.
No, running backs.
Gets my brain in a pretzel as well sometimes. So this might be the seldom seen 4 tight end build that we're working with at this point, but we have some guys. Yeah, we'll reach on a few to get our guys. So we have 6 wide receivers. We've done it running back. How many more picks we got? Let's see, 14, 15, 16, 17. We have 5 more picks. Okay, so we'll go 3. 3 tight ends, probably 1 more wide receiver, and 1 quarterback. I'd be okay if we only have T-Law and Tua. So if we can find a 4th tight end we like, so be it. But Hawkinson's another guy where he's just steadily been falling. I'm almost more concerned about Hawkinson missing a month or 2, and then the problem,
right? Yeah, coming off ACL injury. So I thought, okay,
late season ACL as well. At least, I mean, Chubb's was a worse injury, but at least it happened in week 2. Hawkinson, was week 16 or 17 or whatever it was. So, and then having McCarthy presumably under center, by that point in the season, not ideal there. We'll talk ourselves into it though. Show me just pure tight ends right now, if you don't mind. Thank you. Okay. I would go ahead and hit Otten.
Okay.
Hawkinson, Musgrave, although they'll probably be gone. Fant. Love Fant. Likely.
Okonkwo or Smith?
Yeah, actually, Okonkwo will be good here. Go Okonkwo and Jonnu, definitely.
Okay.
And then Likely as well.
Yeah, I would run more 12 personnel there in Baltimore this year. I mean, the offensive coordinator, came from Georgia, and they ran of it there.
Click Juwan Johnson as well. We could probably get him in the last round. He's got a foot injury, and people are just acting like he's going to miss the entire season now. So should be back by week 1. Should be fine. So, excuse me. But, with Likely, I don't think we're going to get much standalone value there. But as we saw last year, the dude's a legit tight end 1. God forbid Mark Andrews misses time. So we need one of these guys to hopefully turn into a tight end 1 to have a chance to get this going. So Otten, if we get him, we could look a lot more at Baker Mayfield. Now we'd have a pretty solid, Buccaneers stack going on. Otten's just on the field all the freaking time. So I'd be cool with him. Noah Fant continues to build on, our Seattle Bears stuff going on. Then Jonnu obviously already stacked nicely there with Tua. So I think Jonnu's going to be pretty good in Miami, guys. They haven't had anyone to get the ball to him. Only a couple years removed from everyone loving him. I mean, he didn't get anything going on in New England, but who did?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
We'll see with Musgrave. I mean, he was the clear cut.
We'll
take Musgrave if he's there and falls to us, but. Yeah, the allure with him is that he was the one last year before he got injured. Then Tucker Kraft came in and did some good things, but Tucker Kraft tore his pec in May, and it is apparently a 5 to 6 month potentially timeline. So should be back by the second half and stuff. But yeah, it was Musgrave and Matt LaFleur tore their pecs apparently around the same time. So Coach LaFleur, getting on that bench press, getting after it,
working.
That's hilarious.
Respect it.
Oh, there you go. I think he just went off the board. Musgrave.
All right, of course, 1 pick.
That's okay. Let's go, Kate Otten.
Okay. I was wondering, Musgrave had a pretty high draft capital, right? Was he second round pick or was he first round pick? I forget now. I thought he was pretty high up there.
He was second, and I think Kraft went third. That's the thing, man. Like Packers wide receivers, obviously 4 deep, even 5 if you're a big Bo Melton guy. But they aced both those tight end picks as well, Musgrave and Kraft.
There's Boy Gibson.
Rodgers probably just cursing it out. I mean, they literally, as soon as he leaves, they hit on freaking like 4 or 5 rookie pass catchers that all contributed immediately. I think we go Baker if he makes it to us. We already have Evans. We have Otten. We got the bringbacks. Then we're done at QB, obviously.
Okay.
So, if I don't get – sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was seeing Malachi Corley there. I was just curious what are you supposed to do with the Jets offensive players this year? Because if you drafted them high last year, we obviously know what happened there. It was not a good look. Rodgers is great, but again, coming off the
Yeah, I kind of think it's going to be Garrett and everyone else. Mike should be. Okay,
Baker?
let's go Baker. Yeah.
All right.
Sweet. I think it's going to be Garrett and pretty much everyone else in that offense. I mean, still got Mike. Would it be the most shocking thing if Alan Lazard gets out there because Rodgers loves him? I think Malachi, he got the 3rd round draft capital. I'm not ruling him out, but, coming from Western Kentucky, so much of his production was just schemed up on. I saw a Fantasy Points Scott Barrett had a stat where it's like of any day 1, day 2 player drafted over the last X years. I think it was like in the PFF college era. Malachi was like the only one with over 50% of his production coming strictly from screens. So, if they want to go ahead and scheme them all that up, like, okay, I'm just not all that convinced that they're going to say, sit tight Garrett, Breece Hall, Mike Williams, all these other guys, and then make their passing game revolve around Corley. So we'll see. Last note I saw from the Jets, though, is that Xavier Gibson isn't exactly, making it easy to even give up his spot in 3 wide receiver sets. So, I try to make it a rule where I don't want to shit too hard on guys going outside the top 150 picks because, they're going outside the top 150 picks for a reason here after all. But, no, I haven't been taking Corley too much unless, I'm already dealing with a Rodgers stack.
What are your thoughts on Gesicki in the Cincinnati's offense? Do you like that at all by any chance or not really?
Get him on there. We got to talk ourselves into some of these tight ends at some point, but probably not. Again, it's just one of those things where with Burrow and Chase in town, we just haven't seen the Bengals feature a tight end at all. I don't think one's even gotten over 70 targets. But Gesicki, he doesn't even celebrate National Tight End Day. He says he needs a national big slot day or whatever. So, funny. They did lose Tyler Boyd. I tend to think Jermaine Burton's going to be taking that job more so than Gesicki.
Yeah.
But, getting some word out training camp that they have been looking for someone to be more of that seam stretcher. So if you are looking for a tight end who can make the most out of 4 targets, it might be one in an offense led by Joe Burrow. So we'll see if we get down there. I would love – oh, my gosh, he just went that early.
There you go. Speaking of the devil.
Are they listening to us right now? I got to start hyping up some guys we don't want. But ideal world, we would get Fant and Jonnu as our next 2. So I'd be fine with 2 of any of the top 3 guys. We'll probably save Jawan
at the end
for round 18 and see what happens there. But yeah, if we could get Fant and Jonnu, all of a sudden, I can at least fathom our tight end room, giving us some collective weeks. I did I looked at all the percentage of top 12 finishes by draft round, by position, and tight end and quarterback by far are the most likely to give you top 12 weeks after, pick 150 over the years, which, there's a lot of different factors going on there. The denominators are, obviously, different by position. More people are drafting running backs and wide receivers early, but, it adds up, man. Even though it's not the most often, there's a lot of duds out there, but there's a gem every now and again. Just, this guy before us is going to snipe us. No!
Oh, yeah, it's awful.
He's going to take
a combo right here. Yeah,
this isn't good. This is not good. Oh, there we go. All right, Jonnu. Let's go, Jonnu.
Okay. It's so funny how the landscape of fantasy changed over time. I remember playing fantasy in 2005 or whatever back in the day. Running backs were so essential to draft very, very early on. Now it's the wide receivers are taking the lead on that.
PPR.
Love this game. Love it. Always change them. But
man.
I mean, and if you're in the early weeds, 2000s, how many quarterbacks are going in round 1, round 2?
Exactly right. None. Yeah.
So, nowadays it's Josh Allen's freaking putting up better fantasy numbers than anyone almost ever, and he's still available in round 4 sometimes. So, funny how that works. Show me let's see. Hold on.
The team, what are we looking at?
Just give me Chig. I only want Chig.
Yeah.
All right, there goes Johnny. I think we're good. Come on, please. Chig's only 1 year. Dude, he had his numbers, small sample size be damned, as a rookie, were freaking great. So it didn't quite work out last year, but they didn't add anyone else to the room. I mean, kind of post-hype bounce back. Chig was going closer to that tight end 1 borderline last year. Now we're getting him on the tight end 2 borderline. So, again, fits our Titans kind of correlation stuff we got going on. please. Let's go.
Yeah, awesome.
Whenever
funny.
you're this hyped about Chickaconko, it's not a good sign for your team, but that's okay.
University of Maryland legend. I went to University of Maryland, so I like having him on my team. It's good.
Oh, there we go. You guys have had a few ballers over the years. Diggs, DJ Moore.
Yeah, wide receivers coming around a little bit.
That who was it? Who ran for like 300 yards in Ohio State? McFarland,
exactly right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That game was a freaking madness, man. Like
crazy.
52, 51.
Dwayne Haskins, overtime win. That's ridiculous.
That was one of Urban's last games where he's just having like a panic attack on the sideline after every defensive possession out there. So
yep.
Man. There goes Joanne. Okay, that's all right. We got two of our guys. So let's see. Show me our wide receivers.
We have a very interesting team. I like it.
Yeah. Show me. Sorry, can you scroll down on our roster just a little bit more?
Oh, sorry. These wide receivers. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah. There's no one else going to help us in the Jags. Is Jalen McMillan still available? No.
Let me take a look.
He's been gone. He was like the cheapest day 2 wide receiver you can get for a while. Now he's already gone.
Drafted, yeah.
Okay. We got our bringbacks going pretty well. I would say
Beckham intriguing?
Beckham or even Malik Washington.
I'll put him in the queue. What's going to hit it in our
for Malik? Maybe Odell's still got something in the tank, but we haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah. I was surprised he never got going. I thought he made the most out of his opportunities in Baltimore, and they just didn't really give him going more. Yeah. Show me the tight ends that are available. I don't think anyone's really worth our time now. That's the problem over here.
What's up with Knox? I'm going to save the Kincaid now. Never mind. Sorry.
Kincaid. Yeah, yardage ceiling is just so low. I don't think any of these guys quite fit. I'm cool with the 3 we got. If we only had 2 of them, or if we had missed on Chig, I think we would then need another one. But I think we can get a Dolphins wide receiver here. Beckham really didn't get paid much.
Yeah.
I'd be down to go with Malik here. It's going to be a little bit like lesser owned pick period. He's going to go undrafted in a lot of drafts. And shout out to I think it's Coach Speak Index. If you guys don't follow them on Twitter, fantastic resource and account. And, I trust what they're saying. They're grinding all these press conferences, and when they're kind of being asked, and, kudos to them. They got the Puka thing right when a lot of people, weren't as aware of it last year. And, they're saying that Malik Washington is one of their potential bets to do that this year. So I know Malik, when I was like researching some other wide receivers, like I kept seeing Malik Washington kind of at the top of these charts that, when I'm trying to find something for neighbors and whatnot. So OBJ, someone that has been one of my favorite players over the years, but yeah, I'll take a chance with Malik.
What about Levis or Dobbins? Do you care about any one of those?
I can't believe Levis is still on the board. I mean, we're good at quarterback. We don't need 4. Otherwise, man, that is crazy value for someone. Yeah. So, we don't need another running back. I think we're good at this point. Dobbins is so freaking cheap. I say we go with Malik Washington. Let's go weird.
Let's get weird. Let's do it.
What do you make of the Washington backfield? Well, we got you here, Ian. How do you think that shapes out?
I will say that Kingsbury, during his years with the Cardinals, like we did have some evidence. Him and Anthony Lynn have had some successful 2-back backfields before. The problem is a lot of the things that I've been talking about with the Jalen Hurts impact on running backs, where they factor into the equation on the goal line, and then also like they're not checking it down, they're scrambling more so when they're under pressure. That's the problem with Jaden Daniels. Like it was something like last year, like quarterbacks when they were pressured, I think Jaden Daniels was like 5th lowest percentage of those plays that actually ended in a pass attempt. So he's not checking the ball down when he gets pressured. He's either getting sacked or he's just taking off for his life. So that's my only issue there about, the upside of kind of Eckler in the pass game. I think Brian Robinson's perfectly fine as a receiver. He gets this reputation as more of this, pure plotter, but he really did, make the most out of those opportunities. So I've been drafting more Robinson. They're both outside the top 30 RBs, in the right lineup, but probably, I'd be surprised if either guy finishes top 20.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so kind of in sum, we're looking at our team breaking it down. Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, A-Chain, Pickens, ETN, Thomas. Do you see anything that you really like so that you kind of want to potentially.
Where was the
benefits.
round? Where was the keep going down, George? What was the round? I know we had mentioned we took.
Where did
Pollard
Njoku
there.
go?
Just curious where.
We're looking at Pollard, right? So Pollard was the pick here. So coming around,
yeah,
it was.
Njoku was
Oh,
there.
geez. He went really late. That's surprising. So we got, let's see, we were going that way. So, yeah.
Where is Njoku? I don't even see him. Where was
107. Should have, in hindsight, I would have taken Njoku over Pollard. That would have given us our Cleveland bring back, and we could have solved, we already had 3 good RBs. We could have solved those other RBs a little bit later. Honestly, otherwise, guys, though, we got T-Law and Tua to follow us, which was great. I was more than fine with the running backs and wide receivers we got in rounds 1 through 8. I thought the late round choices would have been cooler if we had, who was it? If Noah Fant had gotten to us as well, but
cool.
Can't get every player you want there at the end. So I like the Buccaneer. Was able to get Evans early and some Panther compliments, and then Baker. So no, man, I like our stacks. We got some good old fashioned correlation. Is our ceiling high enough to get us to week 17? That would be the concern. But you know what? It's everyone's concern out here. So I'll take it, fellas. Make sure you send me that 333K here. We'll go all go out on vacation, have a grand old time remembering this.
We'll have a blast. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate it, buddy. This was great, man. And thank you for convincing George to get us to the black
mode.
Here.
Oh yeah, man. No, he showed me that brief. It was like dark mode for the win. But yeah, fellas, appreciate you. Fantasy Life, check it out. Free newsletter, all that good jazz. But yeah, I'm about to go hit the gym and do another one of these.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.